Put the glasses on. No. I said, put the glasses on. Listen, you crazy mother. You put these glasses on or start eating that trash can. Not this year. Hello my people, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about John Carpenter's classic 1988 film, They Live. So this film was developed from a script called, from a short story actually, called 8 O'Clock in the Morning. And John Carpenter needed a special kind of person to pull off the role of John Nada, kind of an everyman, a drifter. And so he met Roddy Piper at WrestleMania 3, and the rest is history. Funny little story. So Vince McMahon did not want Piper to go. And so he offered Piper a movie to stay and not go to Hollywood. And Piper said, yeah, but you don't have a John Carpenter. And that's what makes this movie great. The great director, the great actor, the great supporting cast. Roddy Piper plays this drifter that comes to LA looking for work. He's down on his luck. He gets in on this construction site. He befriends this man named Frank, played by Keith David. They're both homeless, down on their luck, so they end up in this shanty town. And across the street there's this church that something strange is going on, but they don't know what. And one night, the SWAT team comes in and just levels this little shanty town. The character of John Nada, of course played by Piper, is wondering what in the world's going on. He goes into the church and he finds this box full of sunglasses. And that is where the movie really takes off. So yeah, in the first act, it's pretty much character building with John Nada and Frank, working construction, hanging out, with the homeless. Once Piper, John Nada, I'm going to call him Piper this entire review, I know it, finds these sunglasses, they give him the ability to see. He's finally woke, as the kids would say nowadays. He looks at billboards and something that has a beautiful woman says marry and reproduce. He looks at dollar bills and it says this is your God. This movie is a criticism of capitalism, Reaganism. In the 80s, Reagan was busting a lot of unions. And the job which Nada and Frank work is a union job. He was also big on trickle-down economics. And, the rich get richer and the middle class benefit from it. And that's spoken a lot about in this movie, because when he puts these glasses on, he doesn't see rich people. He sees this alien race, and they catch on to him. He goes out on the lam. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. If you have not seen this movie, you really should. So performance-wise, John Nada, Roddy Piper is John Nada. He's great. He's got this real, I don't want to say down on his luck quality, but he's got this real just humble brokenness about him. Him and Frank are so good together. As a matter of fact, in the second act, they have one of the greatest fights in cinematic history. I think it's been parodied on South Park. I really don't watch South Park. I couldn't tell you. But it goes on for legitimately 6 or 7 minutes. They beat the ever-loving crap out of each other. And Piper using wrestling moves, and it is amazing. The movie is worth a watch just for that scene. But other than that, it's great pretty much all the way through. Like I said, a lot of character building in the first act. The second act, Piper's not quite as broken and humble. He's been woke, and So he has a lot more one-liners, including when he goes into the bank, and he has the famous bubblegum line. If you haven't seen it, Google it now. He meets this character played by Meg Foster, and I could tell you from the first time I seen her, Meg Foster has beautiful eyes, but she also has reptilian eyes, and you can take one look at that lady and tell she cannot be trusted. And I don't want to give too much away, but anyway, she's the other like major supporting in this movie. After Piper goes out on the lam and he gets back with Keith David and they have the fight over the sunglasses. You get to the third act, and that's where I have more of a problem with this movie. There's some convenient plot devices thrown in. Like they find out these aliens teleport with these watches with a button on them, and they just automatically know how to use them. Aside from the watches, there's this part in the third act where they, Frank and Nada meet up with this resistance force who knows about the aliens and everything. And there's a scene where they're all suiting up to go fight. And instead of sunglasses, they have contacts. And there's this hilarious scene where you can tell Roddy Piper has never put on contacts in his life. You'll just have to see it. He has the thing up like this, and it's amazingly, gloriously hilarious. The third act of this movie is where I have more of a problem. Where they spent so much time building up in the first and second acts of the movie, everything just happens so fast. And the ending of this movie, well, the very last scene is hilarious. The ending of this movie leaves you wanting a little bit. You want it a little bit better for these characters than what happens. Overall, in the John Carpenter canon, it's definitely below the first tier, which would probably be Halloween and The Thing. It's probably in that second tier with like Escape from New York and Big Trouble in Little China. It's probably just below those movies, but it's still worth a watch. And as far as Keith David's great in everything, this is no exception. And this is Roddy Piper's greatest film. He had only done one other movie before this, and that was Body Slam, which is also worth a watch. It's cheesy 80s rock and wrestling type deal. Hell Comes to Frogtown, which he did after this, is really, really good if you're into B-movies, and I'd recommend seeing that. I'll review it one day. But this is by far Piper's greatest performance on film, and a lot of that's due to John Carpenter. As far as where I would rate this thing, I kind of want to go 7.5. Like I said, the ending kind of brings it down for me some. Some of the effects are dodgy, but I think that's what gives it its charm. I would probably go 7.7. So yeah, everybody should see this movie. Funny fact, this movie was number 1 at the box office when it came out on November the 4th, 1988. For that entire week, it was number 1. The next week, it's funny, they're making fun of Reaganomics and everything. It disappeared. It didn't drop to number 2. It didn't drop to number 3. This movie disappeared out of theaters. And that's why very few people know about it. It went from number 1 in the box office to gone the next week. As a matter of fact, I think Child's Play ended up coming out that next week and taking the number 1 spot. But yeah, somebody in some kind of power did not like this movie. Did not like what this movie has to say. And for that, and that reason alone, I think you need to watch it. So yeah, that was John Carpenter's They Live. And until next time, I'll see you.